Hey folks, welcome back to True Crime Stories, where we cover the most thrilling true crime stories. Before we get going, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for me. Thanks. And now let's get into today's story.
Welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're headed to Maplewood.
Maplewood.
Yeah, it's this really picturesque New England town.
Okay.
But there's been a murder at the annual arts festival.
Oh, wow.
The victim, Tommy Vale, was found dead in his bookstore.
A bookstore murder.
Well, it wasn't just any bookstore. It was like
Yeah.
the hub for the town's vibrant art scene.
Okay, so we're dealing with a town full of artists, critics, maybe a little bit of jealousy. Sounds like my kind of case.
And we're diving deep into accounts like a Tapestry of Lies and Maplewood murders, plus all those police reports. We're talking witness testimonies, the whole 9 yards.
All right, I'm ready to get tangled up in this web. Lay it on me. What happened to this Tommy Vale? What made him such a target?
So Tommy was known for his critiques. He was an advocate for the arts, for sure, but not afraid to, call out mediocrity or even pretension.
So he wasn't afraid to make a few enemies. Someone must have taken his criticism a little too personally.
It's Maplewood in the fall. Picture it. Leaves are turning. There's this crisp autumn air. The town square is buzzing for the festival. Apple cider, pumpkin spice, you know the vibe.
Sounds idyllic. Hard to imagine a murder happening in such a charming setting.
Right. But there's this underlying tension. Our sources, they describe this unease, especially among the artists. This was especially after local artist Nora Ellis unveiled her new tapestry.
A tapestry? What's so controversial about a tapestry?
Oh, this wasn't just any tapestry. It was called Echoes of Maplewood. And let me tell you, it was both captivating, ADD unsettling.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. What was so unsettling about it?
Well, scenes from the town's history, but with a dark twist. Almost sinister.
So like a visual representation of the town's secrets.
Exactly. Some people saw it as a masterpiece. Others, well, they saw it as a public accusation.
I bet. And this was just hours before Tommy's murder.
Right.
Talk about foreshadowing. Makes you wonder if Nora wove the murder into her tapestry somehow.
Speaking of weaving, we've got a whole tapestry of suspects here. Their motives are as tangled as,
Okay, let's untangle them. Who are our main players in this twisted game?
Well, we got to start with Nora herself.
The artist. Makes sense. What was her relationship with Tommy like?
Complicated. He had publicly criticized her work before,
Mm-hmm.
questioning her originality and all that.
Ouch. So there was already bad blood between them?
Oh, yeah. And Echoes of Maplewood.
Mm.
It just reignited that whole tension. People were whispering about hidden meanings, personal attacks woven into the fabric.
Sounds like our artist had a motive, all right. Who else is on the suspect list?
Well, there's Leila Sanders. She's this ambitious young journalist, always on the hunt for a big story.
The ambitious journalist, another classic. I bet Tommy ruffled her feathers, too.
He did. They clashed over a piece she wrote about the local art scene. Tommy felt it was sensationalized, lacked depth.
So she had a grudge against him, too. This case just keeps getting more interesting.
Then there's Levi Walker, a rival artist.
A rival artist. Sounds like we've got ourselves a classic case of professional jealousy.
Oh, yeah. He and Tommy, they were constantly at odds, competing for gallery space, grants, that sort of thing.
And I bet Tommy's critiques didn't help smooth things over.
Definitely not. Some witnesses even say they heard Levi threatening Tommy at the festival just hours before the murder.
Threats, huh? Sounds like things were heating up between them.
Oh, big time. It's up to Detective Aaron Pierce to sort it all out. He's the lead investigator on the case.
Okay, tell me about this detective. What's his deal?
Well, he's seasoned, definitely. But this case has a personal edge for him. He's back from a leave of absence, you see, and really wants to prove himself.
So he's looking for redemption. This case is more than just a job for him.
Exactly. He's determined to untangle this whole mess, but it won't be easy.
So we've got the scorned artist, the ambitious journalist, and the jealous rival. Anyone else caught up in this web of intrigue?
Don't forget about Marianne Rollins.
Who's Marianne? Fill me in.
She worked at Tommy's bookstore, and she was his ex-girlfriend.
The ex-girlfriend, of course. Never underestimate the power of a broken heart.
Especially a passionate one, which theirs apparently was. Things ended badly between them. Some say Marianne never truly moved on.
Sounds like she had a motive, too. But this case is practically overflowing with motives. It's almost like everyone in this town had a reason to want Tommy gone.
And then there's Emmett Reed.
Emmett Reed. Who's he in all of this?
Seemed like a harmless bookstore patron at first, but he idolized Tommy. Maybe a little too much.
Idolized. As in, obsessed.
Some people say so. Apparently, Tommy even started to feel uncomfortable with Emmett's constant attention.
Okay, so we've got the quiet admirer who might have taken things too far. This town is starting to sound like a pressure cooker, with everyone vying for attention, recognition, validation.
You hit the nail on the head.
Oh, yeah.
This murder wasn't just a crime. It was like a symptom of something deeper going on in Maplewood.
A symptom of ambition, envy, the dark side of the art world. We've seen it time and time again.
Right. And it all came to a head that night before the festival. Remember that gathering at Tommy's bookstore?
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, the night Nora unveiled her tapestry.
Well, the sources, they described this like palpable tension in the air, like something was about to snap.
Everyone playing their parts, but underneath the surface, there are all these unspoken resentments, simmering jealousies, just waiting for the right moment to explode.
Exactly. And then Nora's tapestry, it becomes this focal point, like a visual representation of all the secrets and lies that bind these characters together.
Almost like a premonition, like she wove the coming tragedy into her art.
It's eerie, right?
Absolutely. It's like a real-life Greek tragedy unfolding amidst the autumn leaves and pumpkin spice.
So we have this town, this art scene, and all these secrets and rivalries brewing. And at the center of it all, Tommy Vale.
The man whose sharp tongue might have just gotten him killed.
And then, the morning after that tense gathering, Nora unveils her tapestry to the public. It's like everyone's holding their breath.
The rumors, the accusations, they all come to a head. And just hours later, Tommy's dead.
It's like something out of a nightmare. What was supposed to be a celebration of art becomes a scene of chaos and grief.
And Detective Pierce is thrown headfirst into this whirlwind of secrets and lies. He has to sift through it all, separate fact from fiction, to find out who really killed Tommy Vale.
And that, my friends, is where our deep dive truly begins. Join us next time as we step into the crime scene, examine the evidence, and try to unravel this twisted tale. All right, so we're back in Maplewood, where the picture-perfect facade has been shattered by murder.
A murder that seems deeply entwined with the ambitions and jealousies of the town's art scene.
Yeah, it's like someone ripped the curtain back to reveal the darkness hiding beneath the surface.
And now we get to step into the shoes of Detective Aaron Pierce, trying to piece together Tommy Vale's final hours.
A detective with his own baggage, searching for answers, and maybe a little redemption along the way.
He's a fascinating character, a man driven by his past to uncover the truth.
So let's dive right into the heart of the matter. The crime scene.
That bookstore, filled with the scent of old books and, well, something far more sinister.
Our sources paint a vivid picture. Books scattered, shelves overturned, that lingering smell of coffee and blood.
And the photos, they're chilling, but it's the position of Tommy's body that's most striking.
It's like he just drifted off to sleep. No struggle, no signs of a fight.
It's almost peaceful, which makes it all more unsettling.
It's like the killer wanted to create a specific image, a carefully crafted scene.
A message, perhaps? Or maybe a way to throw off the investigation?
Detective Pierce, he's meticulously combing through every detail, every inch of that bookstore.
Searching for that one clue, that tiny anomaly that could crack the case wide open.
And he finds it. A small, intricately woven handkerchief tucked under Tommy's hand.
A handkerchief. Seems like an odd thing to focus on.
But this wasn't just any handkerchief. It was made of fine linen, embroidered with a unique floral pattern, a pattern Detective Pierce recognized.
Recognized. From
Right.
where?
From a local artisan cooperative. And get this, it was stained with Tommy's blood.
Okay, so we have a potential link back to the art community. Maybe even to one of our suspects.
It's a big break. This tiny piece of fabric ties the murder to the very heart of Maplewood's creative scene.
A community Tommy was both a part of and a critic of.
Yeah.
A dangerous position to be in.
And the plot thickens. The handkerchief, it belonged to Emmett Reed.
Emmett, the quiet admirer. The one who seems so harmless.
Yeah, the one who practically worshipped Tommy.
Yeah.
But now those bookstore encounters, those shared conversations, they take on a whole new meaning.
We talked about the dangers of obsession, how admiration can twist into something darker. This seems to fit that pattern, doesn't it?
So now what? Does Detective Pierce just go and arrest Emmett?
Not yet. He's not the type to jump to conclusions. He wants to build a solid case, gather all the pieces before making his move.
So, while the forensics team analyzes the handkerchief, they uncover another clue. This time, it's a leather glove found near Tommy's body.
A glove. That's pretty standard crime scene fare, isn't it?
Not this one. This wasn't some work glove. It was fine Italian leather, the kind artists use.
Interesting. So another potential link to the art world.
Oh, it gets better. The glove had traces of Tommy's blood on it, of course.
But that's not all, is it? There was something else about that glove.
Right. Hair fibers, caught on the stitching. And they matched Levi Walker.
Levi, the rival artist, the one who openly feuded with Tommy. This is getting complicated.
It's like every clue points in a different direction. One minute it's the quiet admirer, the next it's the jealous rival.
Detective Pierce has a real puzzle on his hands.
Two seemingly unrelated clues, two very different suspects. Is this a conspiracy? Were they both involved somehow? Or is someone playing a very dangerous game, trying to frame one or both of them?
In a town like Maplewood, with all its secrets and hidden agendas, anything is possible.
So where does Detective Pierce go from here? He's got these two potential leads, but he can't discount the other suspects entirely.
Remember, we still have Leela Sanders, the ambitious journalist, and Marianne Rollins, the heartbroken ex-girlfriend.
Both with their own reasons to resent Tommy, both with secrets of their own.
Detective Pierce needs to untangle this web carefully, examine every thread. He needs to understand these characters, their motivations, and the twisted dynamics of this art community.
So let's step inside the interrogation room. How does Detective Pierce approach these suspects? Is he all tough guy tactics, or does he play a more subtle game?
He's a master at reading people. He knows when to apply pressure, when to show empathy, and when to just sit back and listen.
So who does he talk to first? The quiet admirer or the volatile rival?
He decides to start with Emmett, hoping to catch him off guard, see how he reacts to the news about the handkerchief.
Okay, so picture this. Emmett's at the police station, sitting across from Detective Pierce. The tension is palpable.
And the questions start coming. Does Emmett confess? Does he crumble under the pressure?
It's not that simple. Emmett denies everything. Says he has no idea how his handkerchief ended up at the crime scene.
But I bet Detective Pierce notices those subtle tells. The way Emmett avoids eye contact, the nervous fidgeting.
He does. And he picks up on the holes in Emmett's alibi.
The vague details, the lack of witnesses, it all adds up to a very suspicious picture.
As the interrogation goes on, Detective Pierce digs deeper, focusing on Emmett's relationship with Tommy.
Trying to understand the nature of their bond to see if there's something more lurking beneath the surface.
And slowly, Emmett's facade starts to crumble. He reveals a hint of possessiveness when he talks about Tommy, a sense that he felt entitled to his time and attention.
It's like that harmless admiration has curdled into something darker, something obsessive.
And then, in a moment of raw emotion, Emmett breaks down, peers, the whole works, and he confesses.
He admits to being at the bookstore, to arguing with Tommy, to losing control.
But he claims it was an accident, a moment of blind rage.
But Detective Pierce isn't convinced. The crime scene, the lack of a struggle, it just doesn't add up.
It's like Emmett's trying to downplay his role, to paint himself as a victim.
But Detective Pierce, he's driven by this insatiable need to find the truth. He's not buying Emmett's story.
So we have a confession, but it feels incomplete. Something's not right. And what about that glove with Levi's hair fibers on it?
That detail keeps nagging at Detective Pierce. Is it just a coincidence, or is there a connection between Emmett and Levi that we haven't uncovered yet?
We're back in Maplewood, and things are about to get really interesting. Emmett's confessed to the murder, but there's this lingering question about Levi and that glove.
Right. Detective Pierce, he can't shake the feeling that something's off. Emmett's story just doesn't explain everything.
So he starts digging into Levi's life, his alibi, his finances, the whole 9 yards.
And what does he find? Is Levi as squeaky clean as he pretends to be?
Not even close. Turns out Levi's got this whole secret life going on. Unpaid debts, shady art deals, the works. It seems he built his career on a foundation of lies. And Tommy, with his dedication to artistic integrity, was a threat to all of that.
So the motive starts to become clear. Tommy was getting too close to the truth. But what about that glove? Was it really planted?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Detective Pierce, he keeps analyzing the crime scene photos. The placement of the glove, the way it was tucked under the chair, it all feels too deliberate.
Like a breadcrumb trail leading straight to Levi. But if Emmett confessed, why would someone need to frame Levi unless...
Unless Emmett was trying to protect someone.
Protect someone. But why? And who?
What if Emmett believed that Levi was a real threat to Tommy? Not just professionally, but personally. Maybe he thought Tommy was in danger.
And by taking the fall, by making sure Levi was implicated, Emmett thought he was somehow saving Tommy, even though Tommy was already dead.
It's twisted, right? This misguided sense of loyalty. But how does Detective Pierce prove any of this?
Well, he's a patient man. He knows he can't just accuse Emmett outright. He has to play it smart.
So he brings Emmett back in for another interview. But this time he doesn't focus on the murder. He talks about the glove.
Interesting tactic. So he's trying to get Emmett to slip up, to reveal something he didn't mean to.
Exactly. He asks Emmett to describe the day he found the glove, every little detail.
And does Emmett crack? Does he give something away?
He does. He mentions that he found the glove weeks before the murder, hidden in a box of old books at the bookstore. He even kept it as a kind of memento.
A memento of what? His connection to Tommy? Or something more sinister?
Who knows? But now Detective Pierce has what he needs. He gently points out the holes in Emmett's story. The fact that Levi's glove just happened to be in that specific spot. It's all too convenient, too perfect.
He's appealing to Emmett's conscience, reminding him that the truth matters.
And it works. The weight of his deception, the guilt. It's too much for Emmett to bear. He breaks down and admits everything. He planted the glove to frame Levi, to ensure that the man he saw as a threat to Tommy would pay.
So Emmett's obsession with Tommy, his need to protect him, led him to commit not one but two crimes. It's a tragic tale of good intentions gone terribly wrong.
But what about Levi? Does he get away with his shady art dealings?
Not this time. Detective Pierce, he doesn't let anything slip through the cracks. He exposes Levi's forgeries, his financial crimes, the whole rotten structure.
So in a way, Tommy's death brings down this whole corrupt network. His commitment to truth and integrity wins out in the end.
It's a bittersweet victory, though. A reminder that sometimes even uncovering the truth comes at a terrible cost.
This case has taken us deep into the dark side of the art world. We've seen how ambition, jealousy, and obsession can twist even the most beautiful things into something ugly.
It's a reminder that we need to be aware of the power dynamics at play in these creative communities and to recognize the fine line between admiration and dangerous obsession.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the Maplewood murder. Thanks for joining us on this journey, even though it was a bit of a dark one. Until next time, stay curious and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.